Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you are all safe and well during these trying times. I am the Curious Owlbear, and I'm continuing the series where I give you ideas for random encounters that don't suck. Today, we're back in the vast forests, traveling to yet another adventure. Before we jump in, I'd like to briefly mention that I have a brand new Instagram account, link in the description, so head over there and give me a follow. I'd love to connect with all of you there. Now, let's dive in. The adventurers begin their journey through the wilderness. Soon enough, they come to a large thicket where shrubbery has grown into a thick wall. One might think that this is an excellent place to hide something of value, and if your adventurers investigate, they won't be disappointed. Inside of the thicket is a tall oak tree, powerful and old. But the adventurer's attention will be immediately drawn to its leaves. The leaves are comprised of valuable materials, silk, gold, or gems. The adventurers could spend an entire day here, collecting resources from this beautiful tree. But the lovers of nature in the group may have another perspective. If too many leaves are removed from the tree, then it will likely perish. This encounter will leave your adventurers with a difficult choice. The group continues their journey until they meet another interesting sight. A large bush grows alongside the path, and it's laden with huge purple fruits. If any of the adventurers are familiar with the area, then they'll recognize it as a wild water plant. A single fruit from this water plant bush will provide an adventurer with all of the water that they need for the day. They can also be used to fill expended water skins or to cook the nightly meal. During their travels, the party comes upon the ruin of a small tower or military outpost. It hasn't been in service for some time, though there are signs of a more recent habitation. The small tower is also littered with small arcane runes, which activate when any members of the group pass nearby. These magic mouth spells can deliver a message of up to 25 words, and they can do so over time. At first, the messages attempt to strike fear into the intruders to force them away. But they become more and more desperate as the players approach the top of the tower. You can decide what the previous inhabitant has left behind. After all of those warnings, it had better be good. One item that may have been left behind is a map to buried treasure. Even with the map, the players will need to do some exploring before they can determine the scale of the map. Once they get their bearings, they'll be able to follow the map to the location, where they will then need to figure out a way to locate the treasure. If the locate object spell is accessible to the party, then that may be one way of finding it, without needing to dig in random locations for hours. Continuing on the road, the adventurers are met with an interesting individual. The man wanders along the road by himself, and he looks like he knows exactly where he's going. Interestingly enough, a small, brightly colored parrot sits on his shoulder as he trudges down the path. If the adventurers approach the man, he motions to his mouth as he opens it, revealing that he does not have a tongue. The mute traveler nods to the parrot, who begins asking simple questions like, "Who are you?" or "What do you want?" It turns out that the mute traveler is rather kind, though people don't usually treat him very well. He's willing to offer his aid in anything that regards his survival talents, though he can only communicate through the parrot. The adventurers continue on into the forest until they reach a small hill overlooking a large apple orchard. This orchard is full of apple trees of different varieties, and they're all laden with fruit. Unfortunately for the adventurers, the orchard is also home to several swarms of insects. While the insects don't provide a large threat, they will be incredibly annoying to anyone who picks from the trees. The adventurers will still likely be able to take a few sacks of apples with them on the road. The group journeys on into the forest, winding among the trees. Eventually, a keen eye in the party spots a horse wandering through the trees toward the party. It doesn't travel quickly. Instead, it walks along at a leisurely pace, grazing as it goes. One of the adventurers may surmise that the horse's owner might have traveled into an area where they couldn't take the horse, so the beast is likely on its way home. If the group is able to communicate with the horse via the Speak with Animals spell, then the beast will tell its story, though it doesn't know the names of many places, and it cannot say exactly where it's headed. In the very least, it will be an interesting encounter for your players. One evening, when the group is getting close to making camp, they encounter a small group of tiny dragons. They hover around fervently, seemingly in distress. If the players approach too quickly or offer any sort of threat, then the group of pseudo-dragons will attack as one. These creatures possess resistance to magic, limited telepathy, and a powerful stinger. If the group chooses to communicate instead, then they may be able to calm the creatures enough to find out what's wrong. A nest has fallen out of the tree and is unfortunately too large for the pseudo-dragons to replace. However, a tall adventurer may be just the thing they need. These creatures don't often hoard treasure, but they may be able to offer the players some information about the area in recompense. Later in their journey, the adventuring party stumbles upon another ancient ruin. The place is littered with scorch marks, floating pieces of furniture, and other signs of a magical battle. As the adventurers explore the area, they find a construct in the shape of a snake that immediately hastens to defend the area from the intruders. The Iron Cobra is known mainly for its random poison effects, damage, confusion, or paralysis. They are often created by magic users, as their construction is mostly magical, and their main purpose is defense. This creature from Mordekainen's Tomb of Foes is quite formidable for a lower level party, as the random nature of their poisons can quickly debilitate an adventuring party. One evening, the group runs into another interesting sight. A small group of fairies dance around a much larger figure in the center of their ring. The figure takes its own part in the dance, flailing its long hair in wide circles. The Korrid is another fey creature who has found its way to the prime material plane. These spellcasting foes are protectors of nature and are extremely prideful in their hair and beards, which can be over 50 feet long. Unfortunately for the unknowing adventurers, to interrupt a Korrid's weekly ritual is a major offense, and can cause the Korrid to lash out in violence. It will attempt to render the adventurers incapacitated through the use of its spells or by weaving its long hair into snares and traps. If combat breaks out in full, the adventurers will need to use all of their resources to defeat a foe of this caliber. And that brings us to the end of today's Forest Encounters. Smash that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and I'd also like to let you know that I'm working on a Discord server for our channel. Leave me a comment below if there's something you'd like to see from a Curious Owlbear Discord. Until next time, be well, be excellent to one another, and stay curious, adventurers.